49ers family, this is one of those episodes that really shifts the mood of an entire season. We've got a heavy decision involving one of our top weapons, a strong message coming straight from the quarterback, a stretch of games that can define everything, and extra pressure on the Levi's Stadium crowd. Nothing is guaranteed, but a few recent moves on and off the field have everybody on edge. Do you feel like the front office and the locker room are truly on the same page at this crucial moment? Stick with me, because what's happening right now can change the direction of this team. Let's start with the elephant in the room without jumping to lazy conclusions. The Brandon Aiyuk situation took another bizarre turn and left everyone in the Bay feeling that mix of anger, frustration, and fear about the future. Kyle Shanahan confirmed that Aiyuk's contract had the $27 million guaranteed for 2026 completely voided back in July. This isn't a simple restructure. It's not a normal cap adjustment. Shanahan, with over 20 years in the NFL, said he's never seen anything like it in his career. When a coach at that level calls something extremely unusual, you know the situation is deep. So the question everyone keeps asking is, why? Officially, nobody is opening the full story. Shanahan keeps framing it as business side, front office, and lawyers. But everybody knows the relationship had already soured. After that major knee injury in 2024, Aiyuk went to the PUP list and was supposed to be fully locked in on rehab and staying connected to the team. Instead, the story started: missed meetings, skipped activities, almost no communication with the staff. For a franchise that preaches culture, accountability, and alignment, that feels like betrayal. At the same time, Shanahan is clearly trying to keep a door open. He keeps saying what happened in July doesn't define the future, that he'd love to have BA healthy again, producing and fully integrated into this offense. That's a head coach leaving the light on, but also sending a message. The ball is in your court, Aiyuk. The faithful is split. Some fans think the player completely dropped the ball and already has one foot out the door. Others blame the front office, saying the franchise is being too cold with a guy who has given so much on the field. Here's the bottom line. Once you void $27 million in guarantees, you punch a hole in the trust. It starts to feel like a marriage on the brink, where every word can turn into a blow-up. If Aiyuk comes back in 2025, how does he come back? Locked in and ready to silence everyone, or just going through the motions until he can move on? And more than that, can the 49ers really keep this Super Bowl window open if one of their main playmakers is emotionally checked out? I want to hear from you on this. In this heavyweight standoff, whose side are you on? The players or the front offices? Drop it in the comments, because this saga is far from over and still has plenty of chapters to come. And if you're enjoying this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any twists in this story or the rest of the season drama. The feeling after the game against the Cardinals was a mix of relief and that spark of hope that only Brock Purdy seems able to bring back to the 49ers faithful. He came back sharp, distributing the ball with confidence, finding George Kittle like they'd spent all week rehearsing a show, and showing that the chemistry with Juwan Jennings is very much alive. But as always, just when everything seems to be falling into place, there's a detail that makes fans scratch their heads: the total lack of connection with Kendrick Bourne. 0 targets, 0 attempts, 0 sync. That stood out so much that Purdy had to address it. He was honest. It's not about a lack of trust in Bourne. It's not some locker room issue. It's nothing personal. It's simply a lack of time together on the field. When Bourne was playing, Purdy often wasn't. When Purdy was in charge, Bourne wasn't always part of the main script. It's like trying to play a live show with a bandmate you've barely rehearsed with. It might work off raw talent, but the odds of a miscue are huge. And this is where a lot of people forget a key point. Shanahan's offense is built on precision. A route that's one step off, timing that's half a second late, the wrong angle on a break. That's all it takes to blow up a play. It's not just about effort or experience, it's chemistry, rhythm, repetition. That's why Purdy, even admiring Bourne and believing in him, isn't going to force passes just to see what happens. He knows that one mistake can mean a pick, short field for the opponent, or even a loss in a tight game. There's another layer here that cranks up the suspense. Purdy also made it clear he believes this connection will come, and when it does, he expects it to click. He knows Bourne understands the system, the concepts, the adjustments. The issue isn't talent or football IQ, it's pure timing. That creates a huge sense of anticipation, because the faithful is dying to see Bourne more involved, especially knowing what he can do once he gets into rhythm. Working the middle of the field, running crossers, and racking up yards after the catch in exactly the kind of plays this offense thrives on. Now imagine when that connection finally hits. Kittle cooking, Jennings contributing, Debo healthy. McCaffrey threatening every level of the defense, and Bourne as that complementary weapon that suddenly explodes and flips a drive. The opposing defense never gets to relax. And honestly, that fully unlocked version of this offense might be the exact detail that decides tight games in December. The only question is, how long does it take for that chemistry to show up? 2 weeks? 3? Or does the opportunity come out of nowhere, in a clutch moment when nobody's expecting it? Because with the way this season is unfolding, the next key piece of this attack might be exactly the one that's been quiet so far. If there's one thing that defines the NFL, it's how quickly everything can flip in a matter of weeks. And when you look at the 49ers schedule, you can feel that decisive stretch coming. The one that separates teams that arrive strong in January from those that just fade out. Sitting at 7-4, the Niners are in the playoff picture, but nowhere near comfortable. The most interesting part? Their immediate future doesn't hinge on facing juggernauts, but on taking advantage of a stretch that looks favorable on paper and could become a nightmare if the focus slips for even a second. It starts with Monday Night Football against the Panthers. Months ago, a lot of people penciled this in as an easy win. That script is gone. Carolina is 6-5, packed with offensive weapons, and has Rico Dowdle at running backs, a guy who can make life miserable for a 49ers defense that, let's be honest, has been way more inconsistent than it should be. The faithful heads into this game with that familiar knot in the stomach, knowing that one slip on primetime can turn into a full week of drama. At the same time, it's exactly the kind of matchup that defines a team's character. Big stage, packed house, and a desperate need for a statement performance. And then comes the Browns, the classic trap game, long trip, short week, and a physical opponent that even while struggling always fights at home. Do the 49ers have more than enough talent to win? Absolutely. But this is not just about talent, it's about discipline, preparation, and intensity. And if there's something Shanahan demands in that locker room, it's emotional consistency in these exact moments. After that, you finally get the breather, the Week 14 bye. You can't overstate how important that is. The team finally gets to reset physically, reorganize the offense, tweak defensive communication, and most importantly, get key players closer to full strength. That matters a ton because the Titans are waiting after the bye. They might have the worst record in the league right now, but this is exactly the type of team that loves to spring an upset on a contender that thinks the job is already done. Even so, that has to be a take care of business win to keep the season on track. All of this carries massive weight because the closing stretch is brutal. Colts on a roll, Bears surprising everyone, and Seahawks fighting hard. If the 49ers enter those final 3 games at 10-4, the story changes completely. At that point, they look like a dangerous, battle-tested team with the margin to drop 1 game and still have a strong shot at locking up a playoff spot. So the question practically writes itself, will the 49ers take advantage of this window before the schedule turns into pure chaos? Because the fate of this season runs straight through these next 3 weeks. And as if all that wasn't enough to get every fan's heart racing, there's a factor that doesn't come from a playbook, a stat sheet, or a film session. It comes from the team's soul, from the stands. Right in the middle of this mix of pressure, tricky schedule, and lingering injuries, Brock Purdy stepped up with a message that hit the entire 49ers faithful. He wants Levi's Stadium rocking, shaking, absolutely electric on Monday night. And it didn't sound like that generic quarterback request. It felt deeper, more emotional, almost like a rallying cry. Purdy knows exactly where this team stands in the season. He feels the weight of every snap. He feels his own body wearing down. Because even after that strong performance against the Cardinals, he admitted he's still banged up. Not broken, not limited, just at that natural edge that comes from carrying the expectations of one of the league's biggest fan bases. And even so, he keeps the smile, the calm tone, and talks like someone who understands his emotional role inside this franchise. Get Levi's rocking. That line alone has already turned into a mantra on social media. It's not just a request, it's a warning. The quarterback is basically saying this game against the Panthers is more than just another matchup. It's a turning point for the stretch run. It's the moment where the 49ers can shift from inconsistent to truly dangerous. And Purdy knows that when Levi's gets into the game, everything changes. The defense gets that extra half second of burst. The offense gains the confidence to take a more aggressive shot. The opponent messes up a snap count. The atmosphere gets heavy. He also pointed out how crucial November and December football are in the NFL. This is when the real contenders start separating from the pack. It's when small distractions are deadly and winnable games morph into traps. He made it clear he wants to stack wins, build momentum, and turn this stretch into fuel for a playoff run. The faithful gets the message because Purdy doesn't just talk to talk. He understands what it means to wear the red and gold helmet. He knows what it means to play for a fan base that flies across the country and takes over opposing stadiums. And maybe the most powerful part is that he doesn't sound like he's begging for help. He's calling everyone to battle. In the end, this Monday Night Football isn't just another test. It's the night when the team and the fan base will find out together whether this 49ers squad is ready to turn potential into reality. When you zoom out, it's obvious this stretch of the season isn't about perfection. It's about response. The 49ers are staring at tough decisions, connections that still need to develop, a sequence of games that can define the franchise's short-term future, and a Levi's Stadium ready to explode. Every detail matters. Every week changes everything. And that's exactly what makes this ride so intense for the faithful. Now I want to know, which of these four storylines is keeping you up the most? Aiyuk's future, Purdy's chemistry with Bourne, the upcoming schedule, or Levi's Stadium on fire for Monday night? Drop your take in the comments, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay locked in because the best and the craziest part of this season might still be ahead.